Welcome to the Open Mic Podcast Show with Mike Midgley.
Hey, and welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. On today's episode, I'm excited to be covering what is a fascinating and highly relevant topic of content marketing and viral videos. And who better to have on the show right now in June 2019 as we close out this second quarter than Shay Rowbottom, the co-founder of Rowbottom Marketing, based out of Miami in Florida. The world of online video is gaining more and more traction, but to do this, and certainly to do it right takes discipline and skill, and that's just to be authentic in your content delivery. Then there's all the strategic elements that most people overlook when, looking to get results. And, usually that means that their content is certainly going to be underperforming. To give you a little bit of an insight to Shay's amazing talents, we're going to get to learn a little bit more about her as well. But a recent post on LinkedIn titled The Best of Gary Vee, the single post alone at the time, now at the time of this recording, it might be slightly out, and I'm no doubt it's gone a lot more than this, but it was over 430,000 views, 2,700 comments, 11,000, 12,000 likes. And the post alone got the attention of Gary Vee himself, which, is no mean feat. The last time I saw that was Amy Schmidt-Hauer with Savvy Sexy Social. And obviously that sort of, is an amazing, amazing, amazing achievement. And if you guys are struggling to get 10 likes, can you imagine getting 12,000 and 1,000 views, never mind 500,000 views. So we are going to be in for an absolutely amazing show today. And welcome, Shay. I'm so honored and pleased that you've taken time out of your time out of Miami today. So welcome to the Open Mic.
Yes, thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's awesome. And if you want to connect with Shay, I'm sure you've seen her certainly on LinkedIn, but if for any reason you've been in a cave for the last period of for whatever and you haven't, you can check out more and find out more about Shay at linkedin.com/IN/Shay Rowbottom. That's SHAY Rowbottom. And don't worry, if you're listening to the podcast in the car, as always, you can find that on blog.thesuccessof.io/podcast. Get it on Apple, Stitcher, iTunes, all the user play. And we will put all the links to Shay's social posts in the show notes as well. You can get Shay on Facebook /Shay Rowbottom, Instagram again, Shay Rowbottom, website shayrowbottom.com, and also you can check her out on YouTube. And again, we will put those show notes in there. So before we kick off and tap into this wonderful mind that is Shay's on video and content viral marketing, just a little sort of teaser about you sort of the progress, the character of Shay, and how she's put herself to where she is today and how she's getting the recognition that she deserves. Back in 2012, Shay wanted to pursue a music career and tried out for American Idol and made it through the first round to the auditions. Now, we're not going to ask you to sing today, Shay, because I certainly don't want to get pulled into that either, because I'm the worst singer in the world. But she's recorded tracks and she's been able to perform at local venues, including things like Tech Nine and Raven, Milwaukee Show, and Chicago House of Blues. So tell us more about that background and that music career and how you really sort of ended up into viral content marketing and bossing LinkedIn like mad, Shay. That's an amazing. So tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it is funny because growing up, I never really identified as an entrepreneur. I never necessarily saw myself becoming a quote unquote businesswoman. I just always knew I was very creative. And from a young age, I was very artistic. I loved singing, writing songs, putting on plays. I was just a very, very theatrical child, over the top. And, I did kind of get caught up in adult life, and I did get away from that artistry for a while. I actually did end up going to college. I didn't pursue my dream of becoming a musician heavily or hard until I was about 20 years old and I had dropped out. At that point in time, I definitely began to find myself. I, had that entrepreneurial grit. I was constantly out networking, promoting my music, doing what I could. I was still actually working a job at that time, but I did have some very mild success with my local music career. But
it's such a hard industry to break though, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I interviewed a lady actually who was coming for a sales job in one of our agencies. And she'd been on a pop band. In fact, what I'll do after the show, I'll actually send you the link. And she was in a pop band that I think was on something like before X Factor in the UK. It was the one before that. And she was and they actually, like you, she shot some videos, and then she just she was saying it was so hard to break through. So do you think that you got a lot of that entrepreneurial hustle trying to promote and say, look, listen to my records or listen to my music?
Yes. I think I always had like the leadership ability, and I always had like that confidence, but truthfully, I did not know marketing. I didn't understand, like sales 101, business, marketing, that sort of thing. That really came to me once I kind of started to hit rock bottom with my music. I kind of started to feel like, look, I got to be real with myself. Like, I'm not progressing at a healthy rate. By the time I'm 30, I'm not going to be in the position I want. If I continue along this road, something has to change. Something I have to reprioritize here. So I actually, around that same time, stumbled across an opportunity to learn how to edit viral videos for large Facebook pages. And I actually saw the success that these kids, I mean, they were, my age, they weren't like, 40-year-old men with suit and ties or anything. They were just like kids in their mom's basement growing and monetizing a Facebook page, and they were killing it, and they were making tons of money. And I was like, okay, obviously there's something I'm missing here. Just as you said, like, music is a really hard road, and it's like a hard path to break into, especially if you're still doing the traditional route. Yeah. So I just realized, like, you know what? I want to learn more about like social media. I want to learn more about marketing. I'm going to put music on the back burner for a while and just learn this. And I actually had a mentor, my partner, Luke Marlowe, who I reference all the time. He really helped me kind of, he taught me video, which was the start of everything. But I would say that just being around him and having that mentorship really helped me adapt and develop a business mindset, because even though he was still relatively small at the time we first met as well, he had been doing it, and he had been an entrepreneur since he was 18. I mean, he had never worked a job. Like, he just like Gary Vee describes, the total, like, in your blood and in your bones entrepreneur. Like, he would explode trying to work for someone else. So he just had to do his own thing. And I really took him seriously. I realized, okay, this guy understands some things about business entrepreneurship that I don't yet understand. I'm going to kind of take a back seat from my music here and just become a student for a while. And that's how this all emerged. I started off as an employee for him, editing videos, and I worked my way up to being his partner. And we actually already scaled and sold one agency, and now we're on to the next. So
that's an amazing backstory. And what I love about it, and for anybody listening, you say you're in the car, you're watching this on the blog, it doesn't really matter. What I love about doing the Open Mic podcast is listening to these stories and listening to these journeys. And not all of them are success stories immediately. They hit the bumps. And if you're starting your business right now, and you think, I'm not progressing at the rate that I want, and maybe you got your head in your hands or something like that. That's okay. Nobody's going to judge you for failure there. That's okay. Yeah. It's better to sort of, get real and take a time out and a rain check and pivot. Look what Shay
exactly.
That's it. And you could say, well, is Shay a failed musician? No, she's a successful entrepreneur.
Exactly. And I think that's a big thing with musicians, is I see their ego kind of get a hold of them, where they feel too proud to quit. They don't want people to see them as a failure. Ironically, me, quote unquote, failing at music is what led me to the ultimate success I have today, which now I actually do have a platform to leverage my music, should I so choose in the future again. Exactly. So I think that there's this misconception that, like, switching directions or quote unquote giving up on your dream, like, people are going to view you differently. It's going to like be a blow to your ego. It is. And I definitely had to like get past that and go through that. It did hurt a little, but my, oh my, do I look back at that decision like, wow, that was so smart of me.
It is. And it is, because when you're in the, if we call it a black hole of despair or thinking that you're failing, you never fail, guys. You either win or you learn. That's the thing I want you to think about here.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you do look back and you think, oh, I'm so glad that actually happened, because I'm not here. So that's an amazing sort of backdrop, Shay. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm keen to ask you for, because a lot of questions I get when I sit on boards and I work with coaching clients and in my agency clients, I get a lot of questions. Mike, how do you spot the opportunities? How do you know when it's the right one? And, I know you saw a gap in the market for like this licensed video content. And I know you got involved with those sort of garage geeks, if you want to call it that, and the monetization and whatever. But, that startup then went to sort of 30 employees and a strong in-house team and things like that. So what advice would you have for other entrepreneurs? Is it just luck? Do you think it is? What's your view on how you spot those opportunities? How do you know it's the right time to say, that's it, I'm going to go and do this, or that could be something worth pursuing?
Oh man, that's a great question. I definitely would say follow your gut. I think there's been multiple times where I've kind of went against my gut, and I always learned that dude, your gut was telling you that for a reason. And there were some mistakes I made at my last agency, a lot of decisions that I learned from, and I won't do the second time around. But, I do think at the end of the day, you have to take risks. Sometimes it's a little scary, but high risk, high reward. I definitely look back at my last agency and the way we scaled and the manner that we went about things. It was something that I see happen very quickly. We were very young, we were very motivated, we were very hungry, but it worked out in the end because we just weren't afraid to take action. I think if we would have sat there and kind of dwelled and tried to be super, super careful, it just wouldn't have happened. You do kind of have to make a mess and then figure out how to clean it up later. And that's okay. I do think that people they get in their own way by just not taking action. Done is better than perfect. And we were, certainly less than perfect at the last agency, but we got it done. And now I have all those lessons to take with me into the next company.
Into the next cycle, yeah. And we were students of Brian Levesque, at the Ask Method, and he's got a great saying, and I always give credit where credit's due. And what he says is, you don't have to get it perfect, you just got to get it going. And what Shay said again is, I just got it done. And, there's so much knowledge, so much experience, so many things you can help people with. Nobody's looking at every full stop. Nobody's looking at every angle on there. As long as you're consistent, authentic, which obviously Shay's going to share some more things about later on. But, don't be sat there in the cupboard or take 25 saying, oh, my hair's not right, or the lighting's not quite right. Don't do that. Get it out there as long as you've got value to give. And what you'll do is, the good thing about, as like Shay mentioned there, about cleaning the mess up. You're going to goof up with it. You're going to get it wrong. You're going to get some critique, but hey, take it on board. You square it on your shoulders and go and progress. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so we've got a bit of an announcement as well. In my show book, we had 68,000 followers on LinkedIn. But we've got a little anniversary announcement to make, haven't we, Shay? That we've just passed a certain threshold.
Yes, I just passed 70. I'm in the 72s now, working on getting up to 73. So I've been averaging a little over 3,000 followers a week. And I love the point you bring up just now about how done is better than perfect again, because I think I've gained 40,000 followers in the past 5 months. Yeah. And I think a lot of those new followers, they've only seen me recently, and they don't realize that my first 6, 7, 8 months on the platform, my videos were not perfect. I didn't even use a professional camera. I used my cell phone. I didn't really do cuts or any major editing. I was pretty raw. I don't even have any makeup on in a lot of them. It was super, super casual. And I just want to remind people, you start somewhere. I didn't start with this, setup that I have today and all this professional stuff. And I like to show my followers today, hey, this is actually where I come from.
That's an amazing point. And if any of the listeners, if you guys go back to, whether you're on Apple or Google Play or Stitcher or Spotify, it doesn't matter. Go back and listen to my first 10 podcasts. They absolutely suck. They're terrible. In fact, to a point where I'm saying, I said to Jamie, my producer, I said, do you think we should take them down? He goes, no, leave them up there. It shows the progress that we've made. And, refinement of show formats, refinement of the quality of guests, the refinement of, opening up guests into sort of areas that the listeners want to hear, feedback.
Yes.
But the first 10, Shay, I am so, well, I'm not embarrassed. I am to a degree. I'm embarrassed for the fact that don't listen to them. But if you do go back and listen to them. So, look at the guests, Here's one thing that's interesting. What Shay just said there is about no professional equipment. You don't need a budget. You need a smartphone in your camera. You got a film studio in your pocket, really, with that. And I just did a keynote, Shay, for digital marketer Ryan Dice's crew down in London at their agency training in London earlier this month. And we've got a guy there called Dennis Yu on Facebook. You've probably come across Dennis. He's absolutely amazing. And he was sharing the strategy about holding the camera, 30-degree angle, shake it, rough, 60-second pitch, bang. And this guy does Facebook ads for Golden State Warriors, Starbucks, Nike. This guy's a legend. And Dennis is absolutely awesome. But he's saying, look, okay, if you've got the studio, yeah, we wrecked it with Mevos, we wrecked it with webcams, mic systems, sound lighting. That's fine, but we didn't start there. We started with a phone. We started with a basic webcam.
Yes.
And that's okay, because again, you're not trying to be anybody you're not. And then once you perfect it and you start to get better at it, then you can go forward. And
exactly,
that's the play, isn't it, Shay? There for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people never get started just because of the intense pressure they put on themselves for how this content needs to look. I think a lot of my success is due to, like, in the beginning, I was a little more rough. I wasn't, as calculated as I am now with my content, because of course I've built a business around my page. But, I think what made it so easy for me to stay consistent was that I did not have that pressure in the beginning. I just told myself, hey, whip out your cell phone and shoot a selfie vid. If you can do this a couple times a week, good for you, Shay. Like, there was no hardcore pressure. Like, this has to get 100,000 views. This has to be cinematic quality. Like, no, I didn't do that to myself.
No, and if you look at the success that Shay's had, like I said earlier, she just cleared 72,000 sort of followers, gone over, and it's probably more now, Shay. So if I'm underestimating this is at the time that I did the show, but the research, so it's probably gone up, but garnered over 4 million views on the content, generated.
Oh yeah, it's actually over 10 now. Yeah, it's bumped up quite a bit in the past couple months.
Yeah, so we need to update the show, but before release, so over 10 million views on the content, 7 figures in sales per partner in media companies. And obviously, like, if you picked up on what Shay said there, she's built a business around a page. And, ultimately, Shay today sharing strategies with clients to boost the same kind of results for their own brands. And, so if you're thinking about personal branding, you're thinking about getting involved into video, head over to shayrowbottom.com. You can even do schedule a call with Shay and the team, and that's shayrowbottom.com/schedule-a-call. Again, I will put that link in the show notes and on the blog so you can get that. Go and have a discussion with me. If you want to get that far, you can sit out there, you can struggle, you can maybe wonder where to start, or you can work with the experts. And this is part of what the Open Mic's doing, is bringing these experts to you to access it here in the UK, the US, and Europe. So, Shay, that's an absolutely amazing journey. And tell us a couple of things that people might not know about you.
Might not know about me. I mean, well, I used to be a rapper. I know we touched on the musician thing, but I think people are especially shocked when I say it was rap. So that's kind of fun. I love rap music. I still to this day listen to rap all the time. I think I really resonate with rappers because a lot of them have a chip on their shoulder. Yeah. A lot of them kind of have that rough drive and motivation from a place of like hurt. And I can super relate to that. So I love hip hop. What else? I have 4 sisters, no brothers. So I come from a very feminine household, and I love women. Most of my friends are women. I just understand women better. I support women, and I love seeing women win. So it's super exciting to be living in an age where women are thriving, and especially where there's so many business owners now that are women, which is so cool. I love being part of that culture and feeling like I'm not alone. So that's awesome.
That's
and then
great.
What else should I share? One other fun
Tell us about the House of Blues, because obviously it's a famous venue.
Oh, my performing? Yeah. So I actually did do House of Blues. That was back when I was, still on my music grind. It was actually, it was an artist showcase event. So I was kind of like featured at House of Blues as like a, up and coming local. But it was a great show. I had a lot of fun. I actually look back on that show not realizing I was very comedic on stage. Like in between my songs, I would always like make jokes. I would call out people in the audience, and I didn't realize what I was doing. But I actually remember that night at the House of Blues, after I got off stage, one of my good girlfriends said to me, like, Shay, you're so funny. Like, you could just do a stand-up show. And I remember thinking like, well, I guess, but I don't really like identify as being funny. And now fast forward a few years on LinkedIn, everyone thinks I'm funny. So it's so funny to look back like, Shay, you kind of always had that like comedy edge, you know?
Yeah. And we were said before we started off air, we said about, you know, that we were talking about that unique content, that unique style that you've got. And, you know, it is different. It is valuable. It is there. So I can see that. Now you've said that to me of that I didn't really have you down as understanding that from that House of Blues performance and how that was as a personality. But now I'm looking back at all the videos I've got here, you know, if everyone was an entrepreneur and all the other things that we've done and all the content.
Yeah.
When I look at it, because it's very cinematic and, you know, you pull these, you know, cool, groovy faces on that. And
yes,
you know, that's just your style. And it's authentic, and maybe that's where it's coming from, being that not stand up, but you know, you could have gone that way, you could have gone this way, but
right.
Coming through, and now you mentioned that, I just got it. It just clicked straight away for me. So you know, thanks for sharing there, and it puts a little bit of the backstory there for me to understand that more. So, but a unique style. And again, if you're listening on the podcast and you've not seen Shay, head over to LinkedIn, type Shay Rowbottom, and connect with Shay. You're going to see some awesome content. So. Thanks for sharing that journey. That's been immense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's get into content marketing and viral videos, and let's see if we can tap into some of that expertise. So I suppose the starting point, Shay, is the importance of branding. So tell us a little bit more why that's really the starting point for where we're going to do with these questions and things like that.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Yeah, sorry, apologies. So the importance of your branding when you're going out to do content and, you know, viral videos.
Yes.
Why is that so important to get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's like the age-old saying, people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. So something I noticed within just a few months of being on the platform and having my face out there is like we generated so many leads from the LinkedIn platform just because people no longer saw like a digital agency. They saw a woman, a young, you know, hustling entrepreneur, and they wanted to learn more about her. I was telling my story, you know, and that compels people to take action. So I think, you know, it's very important to have a presence on social media and also understanding who you're trying to attract, you know, and not just getting on video to do video, but understanding like what would be valuable to my target market. What could I talk about that would just put me in the light as the expert of my industry? So when these people eventually do need my services, you know, I'm kind of the top of the brain. I'm kind of the person they think to. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I've got a slightly off script, so I've got to ask you this quick question because I'd love to get your view on it. We're talking a lot about personal branding in the marketplace at the moment. You have a personal domain, shayrowbottom.com. I have mikejmidgley.com. You know, how important is that? I mean, I appreciate it's slightly off script, but I'd just like to get your view on that. You know, do you think everybody should go out and buy their own name as a domain if they wanted to get into personal branding, or do you think they can trade off the brand of the business and then just sort of feed in that, you know, from that side? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. For me, it was really a no-brainer because I'm going to be building my personal brand today and long after this agency I'm building right now even sells. So for me, it was a given. For other people, you know, I think it really depends on the personality and where you're at. You know, I work with some companies where the CEO or maybe one of the founders doesn't even actually want to be the face and doesn't actually feel comfortable being that personality and having that presence. So they have a sales representative do it, or they have someone else who's a little more who would thrive in that position and who would enjoy it. Because I do think, while I believe anyone can do video and anyone can hop on and improve and get to the point where they're creating value and generating leads, some people have more of a extroverted personality and a natural presence. If you enjoy that and you think, you know, long term, where am I working now? What am I doing? What will I be doing in my future? If you think long term, your personal brand is where you want to go, absolutely, better safe than sorry. Just buy it now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And thanks for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, as we move through this, talk to me more and what your view is, the keys to successful strategic social media and content development. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but like anything done well, there is usually a process or a set of steps that you're going to go through, or stages or pitfalls that you want to avoid. Just talk us around that, Shay, if you could. So those key to successful strategic social media content development. Somebody's wanting to get started, what should they focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many things, and I go over all of this in my program. But what I would start with is understand that social media has over time become a place where it's very much the highlight reel. Most people share the success, most people share the glamour, any angle that's going to make them look good. It's very rare to see, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where it does tend to be a little more stuffy and, you know, people want to look professional. If you can open up and be authentic about the struggles of business and the hardship of being an entrepreneur, you will attract so much attention just because the platform and the user base is craving that. They only see the glamour. They only see things that kind of make us all go like, oh man, I feel bad about myself. You know, I'm not winning as much as this person. Like, what the heck? Show the losing, you know, show the other side of that. And it actually has a really huge impact. People think, you know, oh, Shay, you've gotten on and you've opened up about like the hardships of owning a business. And you've even said things like, I feel like giving up some days and I feel like going and getting a job. Aren't you scared that people are going to be turned off? Aren't you scared no one will do business with you? It's like the opposite. I'm telling you, I know it seems strange, but like people just flock to me. They're like, oh my God, I love your authenticity. I just looked at your business website. Like, I want to reach out to you for a quote. I mean, it's like, wow. So I really started realizing early on, and I think this is why I've grown, that like, it's okay to be real. And I didn't know, you know, when I first started posting, I was kind of like, am I going out on a limb here, like talking about depression and being a little too raw? No, it totally worked out. People love that because it's so rare on social media. So I would definitely say authenticity is number one.
Excellent. No, that's awesome. And I interviewed Leonard Kim, the social influencer out of LA, a TEDx speaker, a few weeks ago, about a couple of months ago or something like that. And Leonard's exactly that. He'll actually go out and share everything, warts and all. And he talks
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can pick that up on the podcast. And he talks about like the 4 stages, where 1 is like, yeah, I'm winning. 2 is I'm losing. 3, it's really bad. 4, I'm about to do whatever. 5 is super private. You keep that out of the way. And he talks about these stages. It's really interesting that you share that similar type of view. And what's interesting, both Leonard and Shay saying is, when you go out there and say, hey, you know, I goofed up here. Hey, I'm on my backside a little bit. That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People come to you because they are like you.
Right.
You see this plastic front of glitz, and it's not. It's so false.
I'll even make an additional point about why that's so valuable, is because, you know, the bigger you get, and this is something I'm experiencing, is like the more I grow on the platform, the more there's just random people who want to take me down. I don't know why, you know, it's strange. I'm really not that different from how I was in the beginning, other than in the beginning, I was just small. So people didn't try to like, you know, expose me and take me down as much. But I've been getting a lot of that lately. Like, these haters are just coming out of the woodwork. And I've realized, because a couple of them have said things like, I'm going to quote unquote expose Shay Rowbottom. And it's like, I just have to think like, look, this is why I am authentic. And this is why I do expose my flaws to my audience, because it's like, what are you going to expose me for? Like, I expose myself all the time. So keep that in mind too. It's really a power play when you do get to the point where you're so big, people just want to see you fall. You kind of have that edge where you're like, well, what are you going to do? I already shared all my shortcomings with my
Absolutely. And it's a great point, Shay. I mean, I was very successful from 95 to 2012, multiple exits, public business, things like that. 2012, totally meltdown, lost a £12 million business at the time. Before the dollar crashed to the pound, it's about 1.7, so about a $20 million business we lost in administration. And when I go out now and I do non-exec work or business coaching, just to echo what Shay's saying here is, one of the things I publicly come out and say, hey, I put a business into administration because I don't want them to find out, hey, you're supposed to be this super awesome coach and this super awesome NXD, and you grow all these businesses and you say this, but hey, I checked you out online and you went bust once. Yeah, I did. I went flat.
Yeah.
$20 million business down the drain. And to be fair, that cost me nearly £500,000, about $700,000 personally. It just wiped me out. And but look, what it does is, but I learned more from that loss, Shay, than I ever did out of the successes. And you come back and you go. So I've got, skeletons in the cupboard, don't have them. They're all straight out there. So do that. And I suppose that links awesome into that authenticity part. Brilliant. Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love it. And, let them hate. We all get them, the trolls and things like that. But I think most people are seeing through that these days, Shay, aren't they? That they're thinking like, they're thinking, well, are they jealous? Are they envious and things like that? I think most people see through the trolls.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that's part of the reason why I also did fall in love with LinkedIn, is because people are, for the most part, very respectful and professional. And even if they do disagree with the content or the point you're making, a lot of people actually do it in a very constructive and healthy way. I think that's one thing that everyone enjoys about LinkedIn is you can get a little deeper on this platform. You can get a little more philosophical because the audience is so educated in comparison to other platforms where people are more likely to just troll you.
It's awesome. So talk to us about the steps to successful video.
Yeah. Okay. So first one, authenticity. We covered that.
Yep.
Now, the second one is don't introduce yourself. So this is a very common mistake I see new creators making, is they constantly get on every one of their videos and they say, "What's up, LinkedIn? I'm Mike with the Open Mic podcast, and I'm here in New Jersey to talk." It's like they spend their first 3 to 5 seconds talking about things that not only aren't necessary, but it's all information that's public on your profile that if someone wants to click back and learn more about you, they can. So don't waste your first 3 to 5 seconds not having a headline. You want to have a headline. You want to start with something catchy that's going to hook the user in and just give them an idea of what this piece of content is going to be about. Give them the ability to make the decision, do I want to invest in this piece of content that's around this topic? Give them the ability to decide right away. So definitely have a headline and do not introduce yourself. I know it might feel like the natural thing to do, but it's not for social media. And the third point I would make is keep your videos short. I don't necessarily do this anymore, but actually when I started, for my first month or so of releasing videos, I did not ever release a video that was longer than a minute.
Wow.
So you might think that's kind of hard, like, oh, but how am I going to summarize my entire message in 60 seconds? It does take practice. I definitely did a few takes on a lot of my earlier videos. But the point is, when you're showing up in the feed as a stranger to a user on LinkedIn, they are far more likely to invest 1 minute into a stranger they have no idea about than they are to invest 5 minutes. Correct. So a lot of people don't understand that, and they think, why aren't I growing quicker? Why aren't I getting more views, more followers? It's like, well, you haven't really built up a follower base enough yet to even have high-performing videos that the audience trusts will be valuable to them and will engage with. You need to get them in with your shorter videos. And even in my case, I still release longer videos, but I also understand that those are largely for the following I already have is going to watch those. I might not necessarily get
bought into that process.
Yeah.
I understand what they're getting.
Yeah, I might not necessarily get as many new followers from a longer piece of content, but I at least have all these followers who trust and believe in my brand by now that they will invest in a 5-minute video of Shay Rowbottom. But a new follower, it's usually a 1 or 2 minute video that gets them in. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that goes back to what Dennis, you were saying about those 60 seconds, short, sharp burst. It's there. And then it also validates for me. And like I say, one of the reasons I love doing the podcast, Shay, is because I learn off people like yourself and great influencers all the time. We have a community. It's built on Mighty Networks. It's a private paid community app. And I do 3, 5, 6, even 8-minute videos of educational learning, in there. But, I wouldn't put those out to the world, full on, because it's there. It is there. And certainly one thing I need to do is get those a better balance, more of those 60-second videos.
Yeah. Well, and you could take little clips of those 8-minute videos and just promote the 60-second preview on LinkedIn and then say, link to full videos in the comments if you want to check it out, and then drive some traffic that way.
Perfect. That's awesome. So successful steps to video production, get the headline right, keep them short, produce longer form content to a more mature or accepting audience.
Yeah. And the headline, let me just give you a little exercise. A lot of people struggle with that if they're new to writing headlines. Just think about it this way. Like, we've all done English class, right? Think about it if you were working for the New York Times and this piece of video content you created, imagine it's an article, and it's an article in the New York Times. What would New York Times have the headline be? That's awesome. It. It's as simple as that.
That's a fantastic example. Gets the mind thinking. Now,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be talking to you, Shay, if it wasn't about also the power of LinkedIn. So talk to me, you're the queen of LinkedIn at the moment, and I'm sure there's other people saying, hey, I'm up there as well, and I'm sure you are, but obviously, as I say, it's such a hot topic with you at the moment. So tell us, the power of LinkedIn, what people can use and leverage it for, and obviously we can see what you're doing, you can reference that, but how can other people use the power of LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn is creating a really unique and amazing opportunity for businesses right now. So when I got on the platform and started releasing videos, I first started in May of 2018, so a little over a year now. I had actually, within 2 months of creating consistent video content for the LinkedIn platform, and I had a smaller following back then. I didn't have that many connections. Within 2 months, I had generated over 6 figures in revenue for my business, all from leads that came from my videos, like all of them. So to us, it was really a wake-up call, like, whoa, there's a whole opportunity here. Like, there's a whole business here on this platform. And the reason it was so obvious and apparent to me that I needed to, exit my last agency and plan to go all into LinkedIn and take advantage of this opportunity is because I actually saw this phase, you could say, happen on Facebook many years back, where Facebook wanted to encourage people to create content, to grow pages, to be active on the platform. So they were actually, for a time in about, like 2011 or so, they were showing your content to all of your audience, and the organic reach on Facebook was just insane. And I worked for a lot of these pages, who grew very quickly simply because they got in at the right time and took advantage of that organic reach that Facebook was offering through the algorithm, which, if you're currently growing a page on Facebook, does not exist anymore. So the people that got in at the right time solidified themselves. There's still mega pages on Facebook today, monetizing and killing it, right? So I essentially looked at LinkedIn like, wow, this is that growth period right now.
It's that period now. It's not right at the beginning.
Exactly. LinkedIn is trying to encourage its users to create content, specifically video content. If there's only so much content to pull from, you have a really good chance of your video showing up in the feed, because right now they're just trying to, show the organic content to everyone. So it became really apparent to me, like, wow, this is that phase. This is the time to grow. I'm not going to miss this opportunity again. I'm going to get on the platform. I'm going to, create a content strategy for growth, for attracting leads for my business, for helping other businesses get leads. And I'm just going to crush it. And I got to say, it's been like a little over a year now. And LinkedIn has absolutely 100% changed my life. Not only my business life, which I talk a lot about the success of, like, I literally sold my last agency just to focus on LinkedIn because of the massive opportunity in business here. But I will also say it saved my life in so many ways, because I am an artist in my heart and in my soul. And when I first started creating content on LinkedIn, I realized I missed creating, and that void in me that I used to have. Back. Yeah, I used to have that filled through music and other art forms. I really lost that when I got into the agency world so heavily. And yeah, I was doing video work and it's still creative and this and that. But once I started making my own content again, it really boosted my self-esteem, and it really made me it made me more productive at work, because I suddenly was more driven, more excited for what I had, to do that day. So I would say not only has it transformed my business, it's transformed my life. And I've met so many amazing people on LinkedIn, not only in business, but just friendships that I found on the platform as well. So,
Get started. That's amazing. So obviously the platform is what it is, the opportunity what it is. Your unique style is there for everybody to see. So integrating that content marketing with viral videos into a marketing strategy. That's critical and crucial, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's certainly where I have an advantage, because I have worked in viral videos so heavily the past couple of years. I always want to be careful to not give people the impression that I can just like snap my fingers and something goes viral. I mean, it's definitely a little more complicated and calculated than that. But understand that we live in an advertising age where everything is data driven. You know, back in the day when you put up a billboard, you couldn't necessarily know how many sales you got from that billboard. On social media, you're constantly getting feedback. Like literally the data and analytics will tell you everything you need to know. Oh, this is high performing, this is not. More of this, less of that, et cetera, and et cetera. So, you know, and I distributed tens of thousands of pieces of content across social media before I ever made my own. So I did have a competitive edge with just acquiring so much knowledge on, specifically on Facebook, about what goes viral and what doesn't. So I naturally integrated that knowledge and all those experiences into my own LinkedIn page. Yes.
Yeah, and the analytics, the data doesn't lie is a great classic phrase.
Exactly, yeah.
And you get the feedback, whether it's comments, feedbacks, the analytics, it's there. So, you know, if and I know I'm getting slightly off script, right, Shay, as we wrap out here, but you know, if we were to sort of look at sort of 3 pro tips to sort of say, right, I want to get on the platform, I want to be authentic, I want to be unique, I want to, you know, get that video viral. Nobody can guarantee anything. Guys, we're not saying follow Shay's advice and you will 100%. You work with us a different subject, you're going to get that coaching, whatever. And
yes.
You can find out more at shayrowbottom.com. But if somebody just wanted a sort of a snapshot, say 3 pro tips to say, how can I at least start moving towards getting my videos viral? What do you think those 3 pro tips might be, Shay?
Absolutely. Well, again, it depends on your industry and it depends on how you feel about different top funnel content strategies, because technically you always have the option to do something just really out of left field that's going to cast the net so wide and it's just going to get the attention of a ton of people. It might not necessarily be that everyone you get the attention of is your target market, but you're actually reaching more of your target market just because of the sheer volume of people sharing your content. Yep. So it kind of depends on if you're willing to go that route and do something that some might actually consider quote unquote off brand. And that's something I talk about a lot. But you know, if you are, you know, really calculated, you want to stay really niche to your industry, my advice would be to go find other creators who are already doing a content strategy around your industry and try and, you know, observe their content and find like the baseline for performance. Like, okay, this creator, he also works in my industry and he seems to get about an average of, let's say, 5,000 views per piece of content. Yeah. Well, then look through and find the high performing ones. Well, why did this video that he got get 30,000 views? It seems like the audience was really interested in this topic. Yeah. And since it's relevant to your industry, just go remake that same topic in your own light. You already know that it's high performing for your industry. So just do the same thing. So I would always say, you know, it's one thing to download someone's video and re-upload it like it's yours. That's stealing. But there's no shame.
I loved your post.
Yeah.
Stealing content. And I love the point when you came back and said, "Oh, I think it backfired." So
it totally backfired. Oh my God, people were there's a general lack of social media and understanding for a lot of users on LinkedIn. But,
I loved it. That was awesome.
But some people get it. But what I'm clarifying, what I'm trying to say is there's no shame in seeing someone else's video that's high performing and remaking it. Even some of my skits that I've done, my spoof videos that are super high performing, I've seen people remake them and it does great for them. I'm not mad. I'm actually a little impressed that you went and did that. Good for you. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're following what you know works. So, you know, take risks and by all means experiment and just track the data, but also just find what's already working in your industry.
That's amazing. Thanks ever so much, Shay. I'm very appreciative of the time. The value you provide is absolutely immense. Congratulations on your success as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Long may it continue. We're absolutely honored to have you on the show. And again, if you want to learn more about Shay, head over to shayrowbottom.com. We'll put all the show links in there. And just thanks for being with us today, Shay. It's a great finish. We're pushing out late on a Friday evening here, so I've got a big smile on my face going into the weekend, and I've certainly learned 2 or 3 things as well out of you. So thanks for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Mike.
It's an absolute pleasure. So as always, we really appreciate you continuing your growth engine development. Thanks for listening to The Open Mic. As always, to get in the game, go do the hustle, go make it happen. And we're going to catch up with you on a new Open Mic podcast real soon.
You have been listening to The Open Mic, brought to you by The Success Hub. To find out more and to get the resources we have mentioned in this podcast episode, simply visit blog.thesuccesshub.io and view the podcast section. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in our next episode. This podcast and associated materials is published under copyright to The Success Hub. All rights reserved. No reproduction of this material is permitted.